It is Wednesday, October the 7th. I'm gonna make a video that's basically about the same thing that every other YouTuber who I pay attention to is making a video about because it is incredible and it happened yesterday. Is that Stephenie Meyer, author of the Twilight books, has released unto the world and the unsuspecting public a new book. You may not know this, Abe, but I've actually been wanting to make a video about Twilight for a long time. But the thing is that Twilight hasn't been relevant in a really long time. And it's really quite interesting to see people's reactions to this new book, which is basically the same as Twilight, except for that it's gender-swapped the characters. So it's about a 150-year-old lady vampire pursuing a 16-year-old boy. It's interesting. Most of the people I've talked to about it have the same ideas, that it's a ploy for money, and it's a desperate attempt to not look sexist, because that was a thing that people really complained about a lot about Twilight, and that basically it's stupid and dumb and we shouldn't give our money to it. And that also, oh my god, everyone, myself included, really wants to read it. People who hated Twilight back in the day, people who loved Twilight back in the day, I've talked to a couple of people who were honestly too young to have really been involved in Twilight back in the day. Like, everybody is so desperately curious about what's new and different about this gender swap and how the dynamics carry out, because it's a very interesting study kind of thing. This gender swapping Alice and Jacob turned them into such more compelling characters. So the thing about Twilight that I've always found kind of weird is that Stephenie Meyer is not the greatest of writers, and her prose is not anything to write home about. But she created it's actually a fairly compelling world, and she filled it with a lot of fairly compelling characters, in fact, some very interesting characters. Lydia is super cool. I would read lots and lots of books about her, but Stephenie Meyer, for some reason, decided to focus on the three blandest, least interesting characters that she could ever have come up with, those being Bella, Edward, and Jacob. So obviously, I've read Twilight. In order to have done that much thinking about it, I definitely read Twilight. When I was in 6th grade, one of my best friends at the time, her name was Emma, she told me that this was a thing I absolutely had to read, and so I read it. And I swear, talked to a lot of people who had similar experiences, like, the pages have to be coated in some kind of narcotic, because we blasted through those books. I think that I read all 4 considerably large books inside of 2 weeks. And I think that I cared about them for about another 2 weeks. And when I say cared about them, I mean cared intensely. I was obsessed with Twilight for about a month. And then it was like waking up from a fever dream. And you have this moment of like, what did I read? And why on earth did I care about it? What is this thing that has just consumed a month of my life? And then I will admit that I definitely turned into a Twilight hater, having been on both sides of the argument. I am incredibly excited for this book. As far as I know, they're just doing the first book, but if not, what are they going to do about Renesmee? Are they going to have Empreg? Are they going to have Edith is Edward's new name, carry the child? Okay, so in the book, when Bella gets pregnant, Edward really doesn't want her to keep the child, and Bella really, really wants to keep the child, and ends up keeping the child and becoming a vampire because of it, and it's all this stuff. Oh, spoilers, by the way. But if they end up making Edith pregnant instead of Bella, like a whole new different kind of creepiness in which the person carrying the child doesn't want to keep the child, and the father basically is forcing the mother to carry the child to term, which is a scary thing that happens in real life. And, like, she's doing this to prove that it's not sexist, but then it becomes, like, scary sexist in a fully different way. But for the moment, it's just the first book, just, like, vampire smooshy kisses and old ladies watching young boys sleep, which has got its creepiness still. So those are my thoughts, Abe. I'm curious to hear what yours and anyone else's are in the comments. You probably massively don't care, actually, so just don't comment. Leave the comments blank, and then you will have given me your thoughts on the subject, or your thoughts in general. Alright, I'll see you on Saturday. Bye-bye.